Okay, just about ready. Come on. Come on.
So it should be
Redirect.
like a little, it's a little bar, right? You ready to go?
Yep.
All right.
I think we're live.
All right. Prescott Realtors. We're going to have a lot of fun today, aren't we, Dan?
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for joining our little webinar today, or a little screen-to-screen conversation. My name is Doug Devitre, author of Screen-to-Screen Selling. It's a book that I published back in 2015 with McGraw-Hill. And I've been told by a lot of groups, senior leaders, it was before your time, right? And it was before our time. And a lot of people weren't ready for it. We all know, as a realtor member myself, and former, like, I don't practice anymore because of what I do as far as consulting and speaking for the industry. But I got to tell you, like, I know what it's like to be in front of customers face to face. I understand the importance of relationships and being able to serve through a very challenging situation with a homeowner, right, or a buyer who's looking to acquire property, and there's no replacement for being belly to belly or face to face. But now we don't have a choice, right? Now we don't have a choice. So what do you do in this situation, right? Do you sit back and say to yourself, gosh, let's just wait until this thing, spills over? Or do you find kind of new and creative ways in order to be able to stay in touch with your clients, being able to serve them in unique ways? And technology gives us the ability to do that. I've been doing this side of the business for about 12 years now, working with some of the real estate's largest brands, and the National Association of Realtors and the Canadian Real Estate Association. Just been all over the place as far as understanding the challenges of where realtors' needs are. And so what I'd like for us to do here is start to not just think about the tools, right? Because the tools themselves they start to fall in line, right? And you can Google tools, but what you can't Google is the actual conversation of what it looks like. What do you do in specific situations? Do you send a link to a Zoom meeting, or do you have a FaceTime meeting, right? Do you send out an email, and when that side of that email, what do you include in the email in order to increase the likelihood that somebody is able to meet with you, right? So in the course of, I don't know, Dan, maybe we have about an hour here today, is to really just run through the gamut, right? And this is a whole body of work, right? Like if you just Google screen to screen selling or look on YouTube for screen to screen selling, you're going to see interviews, like hours and hours and hours of interviews on this stuff that went like probably like 5 years ago, right? And so what I want you to be kind of cognizant also too is that it's okay where you are. Like if you're just starting off in the real estate business, it's okay. If you're having troubles right now with technology, it's okay. If you consider yourself a grand wizard of this environment, you can get better, right? It all depends on your mindset and are you willing to learn. And I just know in talking with Dan and Amanda and her crew is that you guys are really serious about this, right? Because it impacts not just your business, but the livelihood of others, right? So we're going to kind of go on a little journey here, and I'm going to kind of demonstrate some things like what to do, what not to do, many resources I'm going to copy and paste and put in the chat. And so what I'd like for you to do, and Dan's going to help me with this too, is if you have questions right now, this isn't so much of a conversation, even though there's the three of us that are on here, as far as like panelists. But type in your questions on Facebook, right? Let us know what some of your challenges and issues are. That way, in the moment's notice, I can copy and paste and share a link to where it's relevant. I can actually help you handle objection that you might be facing with customers that aren't able to use this technology. Or if you say, well, how do I configure my settings in a way that I don't make a mistake, right? So I'm going to just do a quick screen share. Dan, is it okay with you if I share my screen? I think you said yes. Or you're on mute. I'm just gonna assume you said yes.
Yes, yes, I said yes.
Okay, cool. So rule number one is you have to ask permission to be able to share your screen before you just go in and share it, right? So I think what a lot of times people will do is say, oh gosh, I've got this great PowerPoint presentation, right? In fact, if you go to slideshare.net/Doug Devitre, you're going to see about over 100 different PowerPoint presentations that are uploaded on this, right? So if I were to kind of go in here and I were to kind of start talking, even like doing a webinar, say, hey, everybody, welcome to screen selling. It's a top way of being able to visualize conversations. And here's step number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. And this is what it's going to look like today. Like, you're going to say like, oh my gosh, this is way too much. And I'm right. And you totally lose the people that you're talking to, right? So like step number 1 is you got to be able to build rapport with people and build like the human connection. So that means you got to smile, right? And so maybe you've heard of like, you've seen or heard of Grumpy Cat before. Well, when you, it's kind of like this. Now I know when a lot of us use technology for the first time, especially when it has a webcam, we're trying to figure it out for the first time. We look like this. I mean, you really have to remind yourself to be able to smile. And if you forget to smile, it's okay. Why not put a little reminder? Like you can have like a little emoji sticker that you put up right next to your webcam. Or it maybe even have like one of those little labels that you can make and have the word smile, because sometimes you have to remind yourself to smile because people do business with who they know, like, trust, and a way to build rapport. Somebody is just be able to smile and demonstrate your authentic person, right? And then also at the same time, a lot of questions we get is, should I activate my webcam upon the start, or should I have my customer activate the webcam? Well, think about this for a minute in Zoom, right? And right now, Zoom's getting a lot of criticism because they're the #1 video conference platform. I was one of the early supporters. In fact, the CEO of Zoom, Eric Wan, is on the back cover. Like I've been a Zoom advocate, right? But in certain situations, I might not use Zoom because my customer might not want to use Zoom. Like, let's say if they would use FaceTime, then I'll go ahead and say, yeah, let's use FaceTime. But think about this. If your customer doesn't have, if your customer has FaceTime and you have an Android, what are you going to do? Like, what's plan B? So I would encourage you to have a plan B and a plan C and a plan D, because technology doesn't always work the way you want it to. And we really have to adapt to the customer's like way of doing things, right? Think about this. Let's say you have a Skype account. You've been using Skype for years, and you say to a customer, oh, great. I'm sorry we can't meet together face to face. I tell you what we can do. Why don't you go to www.skype.com and create a profile, right? Create a profile with a username and password, and then add me as a contact, and then we can have a conversation. Now, can you imagine what somebody might think? Like, just pick up the phone, man. Or is there another way to be able to do this? So I would encourage you to like have a lot of different tools in kind of your arsenal. But here's the thing with Zoom that a lot of people don't realize until you make the mistake like I did, gosh, way back when, is did you know inside of the settings that you can enable the participant camera upon start? So if I send you the Zoom link meeting and you click on it, it'll actually activate the participant camera, whether they realize it or not. And let me ask you this. Are you always camera ready? I'm not always camera ready, right? This is why one of the things you got to like learn how to be able to, disable your camera and then turn it on, because and think about this too, right? Now, like you see my profile picture right here. A lot of us haven't taken the time to update our profile picture. And honestly, who wants to be friends with a question mark? Right? So I'm kind of going fast and demonstrating a couple of things here, but inside of your Zoom settings, I would encourage you to disable the participant camera upon start, and maybe even disable the audio too, depending on what your personal preference is, because we don't want to in the first interaction. If a customer ever feels like they're kind of out of place, or it's awkward for them, or that they're not camera ready and you've just activated your camera, that could totally destroy the relationship at the first start. So that's just kind of like something to think about moving forward. And I encourage you to kind of look at some of the situations you've had in the last couple of weeks, right? Where you've worked from home and you're trying to find different ways of being able to to work with your customers. And so right now, just in the Facebook comments, if you can just type in a little question that might be able to answer as far as the situation, I'm happy to be able to answer that. I think one of the benefits of doing this on Zoom, through the Zoom platform, and also through Facebook, is that it's recorded, right? So you can go back and watch it later. And also be able to ask comments later. Now, because I'm tagged on the video, if you ask a question, let's say tomorrow or a week from now, I'm happy to go back and kind of take a look and being able to share some things. So when you think about like, your presentations, I'm going to kind of go back here to the screen share so you can kind of see what I'm looking at. Let's see, where did that go here? Oops, not my photos. So this, right? This is SlideShare. Now, every SlideShare link or every PowerPoint presentation you have becomes a hyperlink, right? So if you have a blog, every blog post is its own like website. Every blog post is its own website. Every YouTube is its own website. So if you already have like a PowerPoint presentation, I just encourage you to upload it to SlideShare. And in fact, SlideShare became so popular that a couple of years ago, LinkedIn bought them, right? So as far as like your learning and as far as where you are, like if you're just kind of like started off for some of the basics, I just encourage you to kind of go through this presentation. And this is really the outline of my book. So if you don't even want to buy the book, totally cool. You can just go through, look here. So what I'm going to do right now inside of my settings or the chat window. So if you're participating on the Zoom chat, I'm going to copy and paste and put that into the Zoom chat. And then Dan, if you want to copy and paste, put it over to Facebook so people can see it. That's a resource for them, right? So this isn't going to be necessarily the basis of this entire thing. Like I would never slide anybody to death, nor would I ever advise you to slide somebody to death as well. So really like step number one with some of these tools is start to think about, okay, if I'm a customer, what are some ways I can be able to engage people once I've connected with like emotion, I build rapport, somebody's going to come to a point where they're going to say, ooh, tell me more, or can you be a little bit more specific about what you mean? And so I'll say, oh, perfect. I have just the resource for that, right? So if I go to the Prescott Association of Realtors Facebook page, I can pull that up, or what's something that's coming up right now that's big for you. So I'm gonna guess. I didn't do this ahead of time, but I'm gonna say COVID Arizona, right? So what kind of comes up here? All right. So let's look at this link, right? So everyone has questions as far as COVID Arizona, and there might even be a better link for this that the Prescott Association of Realtors already has created, or the Arizona Association of Realtors has already created, or maybe it's the National Association of Realtors has already created. Dan, you're shaking your head, yes? Cool. If you want, maybe share it in the Zoom chat, and then we're kind of teaching in like double, triple lessons, right? So if you think about having a conversation, somebody says, can you tell me more about the impact? What you want to be able to do is pull this website up quickly, right? You don't want to do what we're doing right now is trying to figure out what the website is or spend minutes in order to be able to find it. Why? Because the internet minute is a whole lot faster than in real life, right? Like if you ever get in a situation where, you're talking to somebody and you're meeting them face to face, it's hard for them to walk out of the door, right? It really is. Like there's just manners and there's people can walk out the door. When we're working screen to screen, somebody could quickly or easily, if they're bored, they can quickly click the leave button on the web meeting tool, and then they're gone. They'll never see them again. So the internet minute is extremely critical. So thank you, Dan, for sharing this link. I'm going to go back into screen share and then really kind of be specific on what I'm talking about now. So you can do this in a meeting. Uh-oh. All right, so you got to be a member in order to be able to access this. So let's pretend I was able to log in, right? So we could talk about this screen to screen, or let's say another thing that might come up is somebody might say they found your a property on Zillow, and if you're trying to list the property, they might say, well, Zillow is actually asking the Zestimate is higher. We should list higher, right? You probably ran into that before. Well, you have to be able to pull up the website to be able to demonstrate that. And then also there's going to be situations where they might send you an email, you might have a conversation, and then you want to create a quick video. You just don't have time to be able to do that. So one of the things I'm going to pull up, this is a tool called Loom. So I've been sharing this lately because a lot of people have really liked this. It's a way to be able to create videos really quick of whatever appears on your screen. So even like if you're a broker and you're starting to create training for your agents or your interpretation on what some of the latest updates are, then how do you create a video real quickly? And I'm gonna kind of show you using Loom because it's a really cool tool. And guess how much it costs? Marcy, guess how much Loom costs? Yeah, it's free. It's free. It doesn't cost any money, right? Like there's tools like Bomb, but that costs a lot of money, and Loom is free. So if I were going to create a little video, I'm going to go back here to the COVID deal. For the Arizona Department of Health Services, I'm going to click this little button for Loom, and it pulls this up where I'm going to record or whatever's on the screen. And then can you see down here below where there's like a little video of me? So I could disable this or just have it be a picture of me, or it could be the logo of my company. And all I have to do is click start recording, click the screen that I want to share. And so just like a countdown, 3, 2, 1. Hey, everybody, it's Doug Devitre, broker owner of XYZ Realty. And I'm sure that you've probably seen some information that's come down from the Arizona Department of Health Services. And how that's affecting the real estate transaction right now is extremely important to pay attention to, especially if you've been laid off, especially if your business is going through a crisis. Like, what are you going to be able to do? So these are some resources that I've been able to pull up, and we're going to talk through them one by one. Now, right now, okay, I'm done. I'm going to click the same button that I clicked on to stop. Now it creates where it's a video that I can copy and paste. So I'm just going to copy this link, and then I'm going to go right back over here to chat, and I'm going to boom, copy paste the link. Now, how quickly did it take for me to be able to do that, right? I think if you're going to kind of rewind about 10 years, you're going to try to figure out, well, how do I create a video real quickly in order to be able to share with somebody? It would have taken you, you would have had to have the right equipment. You would have had to had video editing software. You'd have to upload it, and then you'd have to download it, and then you have to be able to share the link. That time could probably take you as much as 10 minutes to an hour just to create one little video. Well, how quickly did I just do this? Super fast, right? And so when we look at not just the impact this could have, go through a list of different websites that you need to be the expert in your marketplace and create these little videos, upload them to your YouTube channel, or upload them to Facebook video, or even just use Zoom maybe and do a Facebook Live. So if you have questions on some of this stuff, like now is the time to be able to ask it, because guess what? You will get the answer that you need, rather than to say, oh, wait a sec, what did he say? How do I go back? Oh, it's, can we do another one of these? Right? Now's the time to be able to ask some of these things. So what I want to do here is also pull up some other ways of being able to think about engaging folks, right? So right now I'm just doing a screen share. I'm pulling something that's up on the screen. But have you ever been in a situation before where you've kind of like been working with a customer in your office, and you started to pull out some calculations, right? Or maybe you're saying like PITI, right? Or what do you see on my screen right now? You see what? A little smiley face, right? Or if you're starting to say, okay, what's Mr. Seller, what's the number one thing that you want to be able to focus on right now? Oh, it's price. Okay, great. Now, what's the second thing that you want to focus in on? You gotta excuse my little chicken scratch just because I'm going fast. What's the second thing you want to talk about? Okay, well, how long is it going to take to sell? So that's time. And then the third thing is, how painful is the process is this going to be, based upon my current situation? Now, here's the thing. Like if I were going to go back and I were going to kind of pull up my slideshow presentation, and I start to talk about price, and I start to talk about time on market, and I start to talk about the hassles inside of a PowerPoint presentation, what we've just done inside of our PowerPoint presentation is we've made it an assumption that the customer needs to know what we know in the order they need to know it. So I'll say that again, right? Whenever we have slide presentations like this, we make an assumption that the customer needs to know what they need to know in the order that they need to know it. Well, that's not true, right? Like this just doesn't work. The customer doesn't think that way. What the customer thinks about is, okay, what's their number one, right? What's their number one? What's their number two? What's their number three? And then we can start to explain it, because here's the thing about communication, right? And I'm just going to kind of go out here because this is critically important, especially as we're meeting screen to screen. When we look at communication, there's what I say and there's what you understand. Now, just because I say something, does that mean that you understand? Yes or no? No, I might need to be able to clarify, right? I mean, it might need to be able to give specific details, and if we did this on the phone call, we did this on a conference call, what you don't get is you don't get this look. You don't get that concerned look, right? Or you don't get if somebody's like sad, you don't really, it's hard to be able to get that over the phone, which is why the video kind of like comes into play. So you can be a little bit more specific about kind of getting to the issues. And so when it kind of like, do you see I'm going back and forth between screen share and like video, because I'm using the video camera to be able to connect. And then I'm going back into screen share to be able to kind of demonstrate whatever logic, right? So also think about this too. Now, if we take a look at your slides, right, the problem with most slides right now is that they're just kind of bullet point slides. And instead, what I want you to think about is maybe creating these slides to where they're fill in the blank, right? Or maybe you have some sort of way of being able to just quickly insert. And if you've ever seen this before, where a presenter gets up at the front of the room, or a facilitator gets up in the front of the room and they have a flip chart, right? And they start spending all this time, like, I mean, I could draw this right now, right? Say, oh, isn't this cool, right? And then you kind of spend all this time talking about like what these things mean. Instead, if it's created as a visual ahead of time, now you can start to ask right now, well, gosh, if you're a leader inside of your company or a leader inside of your market, did you have the vision of screen to screen selling before the market hit, or the market turned the way that it did? And if you didn't, I'm willing to bet that you're having some issues, right? Or let's say you had the vision, but you didn't have the urgency. Now you're probably kind of running around trying to figure this out. So by using this as a visual to be able to ask you specific questions on how you start to relate to my process, now what I can do is help you advance to the next step, right? So this is what I call like a fill in the blank type of slide, PowerPoint slide, or fill in the blank visual, because bulleted slides are gone with the tides. There's one thing that I'll kind of, this is something that I drew up yesterday because so many people were asking me about this. And I've had, if you just go to my Facebook page, even Doug Devitre, certified speaking professional, you can like it and you can see all the different videos that are on there. What kept coming up over and over and over again was a situation where people didn't have policies for this stuff, right? Whether you're the broker owner or you're trying to work with a customer, like there isn't any policies that are put in place. They're assumed, right? They're implicit, but this is kind of where we need to be able to operate from, so we can work in a set of best practices. And especially if you have more people jump on, one of these, where this, let's say if you have investors that are across the country, or maybe it's a husband and wife that are traveling, or maybe even live in different states, you have to be able to set some of these expectations, not just with the real estate process, but also with the process of being able to communicate effectively. And so I'm just going to kind of go through some of these. And I don't know, Dan, are there any questions from the Facebook page or from the chat that we just need to be aware of, or is everybody kind of like,
there was one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, let's see here. Okay, there's two here. I'll go ahead and post them in the chat for you.
Cool.
First one here is from Karen Keith.
I take a little water break too.
That one's from Karen Keith.
Yeah. So this is really good. So for non-tech savvy clients, what's the best and clearest way to instruct them on how to participate in a call? So, for here's what I would do is I would pick up the phone and call them. Right. I mean, really, we have to meet our customers where they are. If we try to force a customer to work with technology in the very beginning, it just ain't gonna work, right? Even with my mom, 12 years ago, actually had to go to her house and install the Skype, the webcam, and then teach her how to be able to use Skype. Now, here's something also to think about is, if you have some clients that you really like, want to be able to help during this tough time, why not buy them a webcam, right? Why not walk them through step by step and teach them how to do it? Because guess what? If you just empowered them with a new skill, they're going to love you forever. Every time they look at their family and they look at their friends on like having call it a virtual happy hour or a virtual dinner, and you just help them with that. Think about the gift that you just given them. Now, so for someone who's not tech savvy, I would recommend picking up the phone call and then encourage them on the benefits of joining a video call, right? Encourage them on why it's important for me to have a visual that we can demonstrate some things and not necessarily have to rely upon sending a document, right? Like, so for example, if I were going to send you a PDF right now, um, let's say it's the sales contract, and I don't know how many pages are on your sales contract and how many lines are on your sales contract, but if you tell somebody to scroll down, you send them a PDF and then tell them to scroll down and then scroll up and scroll down. Oh wait, no, it's keep going, keep going. No, you're not there yet. Nobody knows what you're looking at because you both are not on the same page. So a benefit of having one of these screen to screen conversations is being able to show exactly what you're talking about, so there isn't any ambiguity. Also, one thing that I'll do is I'll create my own little videos on how to use some of these tools. Now, again, they're like, so for Zoom, for example, already has a lot of tutorials that are already available. So if you want to be able to share that with them, by all means. One of the things that is this is something I've done with my dad, right? My dad's 80, and the first time he walked into an Apple store, he had a panic attack. Right? Because he's so overwhelmed with all this stuff. I said to him, your children, your grandchildren, are not in a different state right now. Wouldn't you like to see them? Like, wouldn't you like to see them on more regular basis than just, maybe once or twice a year? He said, yeah. I said, cool. All right. Well, let me show you FaceTime and how it works. And guess what? Now it's like every morning at 8 a.m. I get a FaceTime call from my dad. I'm like, Dad, I love you, man. Can't talk right now. So I don't know. Hopefully that helps gives you an idea. There's not a perfect solution for that, right? But you just kind of have to find what's really in their best interests for it. So Dan, there's one more. You want me to keep going?
Yeah, there's one more question here. Let me pull it up here.
Yeah, cool.
Oh, and don't mind the sound. That's the phone ringing.
Is it your dad wanting to do a FaceTime call?
No, it's on our work phone.
Okay, I'm just kidding.
This one is from Mara Dorn.
Yeah. Hey, Mara.
She was asking what you were using to write, do
Yeah.
like the little illustrations.
So this is so cool. So this is a tool called Doceri, right? I've been preaching this thing since 2012. In fact, I'm just gonna kind of show you what this looks like, because you just asked me like how do I be able to draw on this? So I want to give you kind of a different way of looking at this, because I don't just use Doceri for screen to screen conversations, but I also use it when I present live, right? Because if I'm working on a stage and 20 rows back, people can't read my flip chart, then I've done them a disservice, right? And so what's the way around that? I use this tool called Doceri, or Doceri Desktop. So what's actually happening right now is I'm drawing on my tablet that's connected to my laptop, right? So tablet is connected to my laptop using Doceri Desktop. Now, if I pull out of this and then I show you what this looks like, the way that I'm going to pull up the connection dashboard. And so right now you can see that it's using this is the IP address that it's connected. So my internet connection has to be the interconnect connection from my iPad also has to be on the same internet connection as my laptop. And if those are the same one, then I can pull this up. Now, here's the reason why I like Doceri. And or wait, did I forget to share my screen? Silly me. My bad. My bad. Here we go. Dan, can you see that?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I kind of went on. I forgot to share my screen. So I'll just do that one more time. So right now I have my laptop that it's pulled up. This is where I've activated my Zoom meeting from. And then this is my tablet that I'm actually drawing on using my stylus. And so the software that I'm using is called Doceri Desktop. And so if I back out of this, and then I go, I'll just show you the website so you can see this. So this is Doceri. So I download this app to my iPad. It's free, but then in order to be able to connect it to my desktop wirelessly, it's a $30 one-time deal. And then I'll also share this with you, and I did, but I kind of just went really fast with it. You probably weren't able to kind of see what it looked like. Do you see this down here at the very bottom? This is me. This is my watermark, right? So when I'm looking at having screen-to-screen conversations, I turn it into marketing to where I'm able to summarize key points that have become valuable for other people. Now, here's the thing that happens a lot in the real estate industry that it shouldn't. You know, R&D does not stand for rip off and duplicate. R&D stands for research and development, and my research comes from the conversations that I have with my clients. So one of the ways that I try to protect myself is I put my little logo of my head, and I could put it, could be a company logo, but this watermark here is something you could add to Doceri. And so that's kind of how I protect my IP, because guess what? I mean, even I post this onto LinkedIn yesterday, gosh, over 300 people were looking at this thing and had a bunch of interactions, and people started sharing it, right? If I didn't put my watermark on it, then you started to see it show up in different places. Then you'd say, well, oh gosh, well, that kind of looks like Doug stuff, right? So that's I'm just kind of like went through a little quick demonstration on Doceri, but I use it not just for screen to screen. I also use it for live presentations. And also think about this too. Now, Zoom has a whiteboard tool associated with it, right? But the deal is what I'm going through, I'm jumping on different platforms for different clients, right? Some clients that I work with will use WebEx. Totally cool with that, right? So if I had to learn the annotations or whiteboard tool inside of WebEx, Adobe Connect, GoToMeeting, Zoom, Google Hangouts, each one of those tools, then I'm going to fumble, right? Because it's not like I use all of those tools on a regular basis. So the reason why I have this third-party whiteboard app is because now I can really master one whiteboard tool rather than 5 different whiteboard tools. So, is that cool? Cool. All right. I'm gonna go back and share my screen. We're gonna talk about a couple more concepts. And again, like if you have questions on some of this stuff, let me know. So first of all, I'm gonna kind of like, this is gonna be my way of like advancing my slides, right? One thing I would encourage you to do, especially like inside of your office, if you're doing team meetings, is set some sort of policy where everybody's gonna join 10 minutes prior to the meeting. Why? Is because many times when if you're going to join at 9 a.m. and it's a 9 a.m. meeting, then you're already late. Think about this. Have you ever had to do a software update right before the meeting starts, and then that makes you late? Have you ever had to recharge your laptop or your phone and tried to join the meeting at the start time and had to wait for it to charge up in order to be able to start. So there's a lot of issues that you can run into. I've even had situations where my whole laptop didn't work. And so I had to find another laptop within a few minutes so I could start on time. It's just like if I'm going to drive to the office and I know there's going to be traffic, I'm going to probably leave a little bit early. So just out of respect for your peers and everybody else, there's some sort of policy that you can join 10 minutes prior to, so then not that way you're not waiting. Next is like your agenda. You know, a lot of times we'll just jump on one of these meetings and not necessarily have an agenda, or we'll think we already have an agenda when we really don't. So inside of when you send out a meeting invite, I highly encourage you to write out an agenda as far as, at the very minimum, what are the top 3 things that will be able to benefit from. So one of the things I'll show you inside of the Zoom software, and everyone is a little different, is there's what's called the Zoom meeting schedule Chrome extension. Now, if you use Safari, there's another one too, right? But I'm just going to show you this on Chrome. So the way that this works is it's just, you know, and just for you, if you're not familiar with this before, an extension or a browser extension is just like having a mobile app, but instead it's inside of your web browser. So Safari has browser extensions. Chrome has extensions. So those are probably the 2 that are most popular. So I already have this added in here, and I've already logged in through my Zoom account. So if I want to be able to schedule a meeting with somebody, I just click that, and that automatically will populate this. It'll give the exact meeting link that people will click on to join the meeting. You know, when you think about, right, you know, typing a specific address, like which Starbucks location you're going to meet at, this is the same thing where all people have to do is click on the link. Now, here's one thing also too, is when you have guests, you want to send them an invite through the scheduler and not through the mobile app. Why? Is because what ends up happening is if you send through the mobile app, it's not going to send out the calendar attachment that's actually synchronized with the calendar. And that's a big deal, right? So for like meeting registration, saying I'm going to be there, and meeting attendance is totally 2 different things. You could have 10 people say they're going to be there and only 5 people show up. You want to increase the likelihood people are going to show up on time, send it through the scheduler and put their email in here. So that way, I'll just add in Amanda so you can see that there too. And so now that I have this in here, this is the default. So I'll just say, hey gang. Now it might be a little more professional than that, but I'm just kind of going quick. Hey gang, I am excited to talk to you about 1, 2, 3. And then if I want, I can add an attachment too. And then if people wanted to call in, these are the areas of where I work the most. So I actually have this inside of each one of my meetings just in case. So if people wanted to call in from Australia, that's they can do that. So that's the Zoom schedule. That'll help people kind of like start on time. Dan, is that a signal for me? Or you just... Okay. All right. Sometimes I make these jokes like just for myself. So I appreciate you sticking with me on this. So, yeah. Oops. I'm going to go back to that visual that I shared with you before. And we're going to keep going through these because I think this is a kind of a good place to start from. And you start to see that there's different ways of me to put this in here. So I've already saved this as an image. And so all I have to do is I go to the photos section inside of my iPad to be able to pull this up. That's how I'm able to kind of write this out so quickly. So, another one is test your camera ahead of time. And also make sure that it's put up and it's like in the right position. Because when you think about, like, have you ever seen somebody start a meeting like this? And I know that kind of sounds silly, but it happens all the time. Make sure you have your camera tested, that you have good light. If you need if you don't have good light where you are, there's a tool called Chat Light. If you go to www.chatlight.com, that's one you can just kind of put right on top of your computer or put it on top of your phone, whatever you're using it from. Another one is speed test. Make sure you have a fast internet connection. And let's do this here real quick, because this is something that comes up all the time. This out of the way. So how fast is your internet connection at your house right now? Something that you want to know about. So if I go to www.speedtest.net, what button do you think I click on to test the internet connection? There's a grand prize if you get it right. What button do you click on? The big go button. So right now I've got a 50 megabytes per second, right? Which is good, right? Would I want more? Sure. But I'd probably say at a minimum for me, like my minimum standard is 30 megabytes per second. Otherwise, I'm going to start to think about different alternatives. Now, one way to speed up your internet connection at home is looking at getting a Wi-Fi mesh network. So I'm just going to type this in so you can see. This is the one that I've been using, actually, that I just bought. Here's something cool you probably don't know. Is there a Best Buy in your area? Yes or no? Just shake your head yes or no. Is there a Best Buy? Okay, cool. So there's Best Buy just came out with a new service where they'll send somebody to your house to help you figure out what smart home devices you need. And this is the one you start with. Especially if you have a big home, like two floors and a basement, or it's a wide home, you're going to need one of these things. If you have a long distance between your network and the rooms you want to be able to reach, it's another reason why you need one of these. And also when you think about all the smart home devices, whether it's Wi-Fi bulbs, plugs, Amazon Alexa devices, anything that would be connected to the smart home on Wi-Fi, you're going to need to ramp up your internet connection and get one of these things. You can believe the difference that it made in my internet speed at home when I got this. So just like a recommendation, I don't sell these things. I probably should, but I don't. Best Buy will sell it to you. And here's the thing with my experience in working with Best Buy is the people that come out to your house, they don't earn any commission on it, right? So you can feel safe about if you're ever worried about somebody trying to sell you something you don't need, they don't make commission on it. They'll actually help you order the products right there and help you schedule it with their Geek Squad. And just kind of like as a side note here on the smart home stuff, I know that many of us might feel like we're good do-it-yourselfers, right? What people really like overlook is the amount of time that takes to set these up correctly. And then also, if you do it wrong, you have to have them come out there and do it anyway. So I just recommend hiring a pro. You know what your time's worth. Maybe you have a little bit more time on your hands. You're willing to give it a shot. But just, I'd like to give you a couple options to think about going about this the smart way. So definitely good internet connection will be important. I'm going to skip ahead to this one on notification settings. Now, when I'm doing one of these meetings screen to screen and I get into screen share, I have disabled all of the notifications that come across the top of my computer screen. Now, the reason why that's important is because those can not only be distractions, but also if you have the Facebook notification, when somebody sends you a message on Facebook, that message could pop up. If somebody sends you a message on, let's say by text message, that could come up across the screen. And even if you're talking with, let's say you have, this is a trend that we're starting to see right now, is where the buyer's agent and listing agent and the homeowner and the buyer are all jumping on these meetings at the same time. Think about this. If that were to ever happen, is that if you're on screen share and then the buyer's agent is on screen share demonstrating the offer, and then the customer sends a text message and say, wait a minute, I'll pay more. That comes across the screen. Can you imagine the impact that would have on that? So, we have to advise our clients on how we kind of behave inside the houses or inside of meetings. We also have to take those considerations as it comes to using this technology, because again, we don't want to compromise our negotiation position because of a lack of understanding of how the technology works. So that's kind of like, let the buyer beware. Start to keep that in mind. Now, we've kind of like went through a lot of these different things pretty fast. And so, Dan, I'm just going to kind of like take a little pause here and see if anybody has any questions, concerns, right? Because there's definitely some risks involved that we need to be aware of, right? And I'm not an attorney by any means. I don't pretend to be, but what I can do is prepare you with some questions to be able to ask your broker or to ask your attorney, so then that way you can protect not just yourself, but also your clients.
Okay, Doug. So, Kat Collins on the Facebook chat, she was asking about your watermark. I think you covered that, but might be good to review that, just be on the safe side.
Yeah. So, how am I going to do this here? If I try to demonstrate the application of the watermark right now, it might, I'm not saying the system would blow up, but I think that would, the time that it would take for me to do that wouldn't serve you as much as it could be to be able to find the link, right? So if I just went here to screen share and then I typed in, let's see, Dosiri watermark. This is what I'm just gonna kind of share inside of the chat. And so you can copy and paste and put that inside. Now, as we're talking about some of these things and demonstrating best practices in real time, what I encourage you to do is look at your keyboard shortcuts, right? So, with keyboard shortcuts, what's the shortcut for copy? Control C or Command C for Apple. What's the shortcut for paste? Control V as in Victor, not P, but Control V is. What's the shortcut to open up a new tab on your internet browser? Control T. What's the shortcut for select all? Control A. So, I mean, you'll get in a situation where you're just going to be copying and pasting. You want to be able to do it quicker. Why? Because the quicker you're able to copy paste these links and put them in a participant chat, like I just demonstrated, is going to improve the customer experience. And that's also no different than I'm working from my mobile phone, right? So everything that I've demonstrated with you today, I want to say about 90% of it I can do right from my mobile phone, right? Even this, even the virtual background, you can use the virtual background on your phone. So think about for like copy paste into chat, starting meeting, scheduling. We need to be able to be just as proficient from our desktop as we are on our mobile phone doing this. And this is this is one of those like, okay, I'm going to expose myself. In one of my practices, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of way that I have fun with this, and not probably what you're thinking, but sometimes when I'm on these Zoom meetings and I'm on my phone, if I'm be out in public, I'll activate my virtual background. And I love kayaking, right? I love kayaking. That's what I do in the summertime a lot. Well, when I'm on my kayak, I don't want my people that I know I work with, I'm always on my kayak. So I'll activate the virtual background and have the discussion with them, and they wouldn't know that I'm on my kayak. So I don't know. That's just kind of one of my fun things I like to do when with a virtual background. And also this too. Like, do y'all see where I am? I'm right outside the association's office. So I think about my customer, and then I'll put in the backdrop of whatever, like there's Google Street View. Or, if my clients in Kansas City, I'll pull up the Chiefs Stadium because they're the 2020 Super Bowl champions. I don't know. I'm just kind of going here. Dan, other questions we can kind of answer before we keep going here.
Nope, no new questions.
Cool. Here's what I'm going to do, because this thing comes up quite a bit, is I'm going to go back into screen share and I'm going to pull up the Zoom settings, right? Because I think when you first get started with this, it can be a little bit intimidating. So, okay, so I've logged into my Zoom account. This is where you go ahead and update your picture. Again, nobody wants to be friends with a question mark. I also have this, see where it says personal link here too. This is, so think about this, like you have a personal link for your Facebook profile, you have a personal link for your Facebook page, you have a personal link for your LinkedIn account. Why not have a personal link for your Zoom profile? So if you look at the contact me page on your website, right? You have one of those? You have a website? Okay.
Yeah, we got a website. We got a contact us page.
Yeah, cool. So, and I'm not, and Dan, I was just talking to you. I was kind of like talking to everybody else too. Because everybody has a website, right? And if you have a contact page and you already have a Zoom account, why not put your personal link on your contact page? And so when you think about customer support, people can meet you screen to screen or like video to video right there from clicking the link on the contact page. Now, obviously, we want to set some parameters around that. That says, you know, this is when we're available to take these types of calls. But from a support, it's like, you know, nobody's doing this right now. Nobody's doing this. This is like Facebook 12 years ago. Nobody was doing this stuff, and so now is an opportunity for you to really capitalize and making your practice a little bit different. I'm gonna go down here to settings, right? Because this is where this really starts to get key from working with this. So to see here what says, all right, my battery's getting low. We might have to duck out of this early, but we'll help you here. So see where it says host video. So I turn my video off because I'm not always camera ready. Same way with participants video. My participants are not always camera ready. For audio type, I like to give people the option where they can use the phone or the computer audio. And many times when I join, I have that set up. Here's where it says join before host. I let people join the meeting before I get there. So then that way they're not sit there waiting and not sure when to click on the link, right? So it just kind of shows up a little waiting room. They're waiting for the host to start. So just know that that's even there. And also too, think about this. If somebody joins early, how do you know if they join early? There's actually a setting in here where you get an email to let people know people are sitting there waiting for you to join the meeting. So that's a really cool way of being. So if say they get on 5 minutes early and you wanted to start 5 minutes early, that way you know everybody can start in 5 minutes early. Here's the thing with passwords right now is that it's kind of like you've heard of Zoom bombing before, where people are starting to join meetings without permission. Password protection might be a good idea, especially if you're having big group meetings. For one-on-one meetings, it's not so much of a big deal because people don't have the private URL for that specific meeting. Also this too, like if I were going to go back and see if I can show this to you where it says the Zoom scheduler. Do you see right here where it gives you I'm gonna make this bigger. Here's another shortcut, zoom in, because if people are joining from a mobile device, sometimes you need to zoom in so they can actually see because it's really hard to read. So I just kind of did a zoom in using Command plus or Control plus. So this is inside of this meeting location. This is the 9-digit number for people to be able to type in. And if they don't know the specific link, right, or they get to the thing where they say, well, can you give me the meeting access number? That's where you would find it. So questions, comments, concerns. What are some of the things that have popped up?
All right, we got a call or question here. I'm going to copy it into the chat from Karen Keith. You put your personal Zoom link on your contact info and someone clicks it. Do you get notified that someone is in your meeting room?
Yeah, you bet. You'll get a little notification that says somebody's in your meeting room. Absolutely. Great question. Let me share something else for you to think about here. There's nothing more powerful than the human connection, right? And let's pretend right now that you're kind of feeling down, right? You're not sure what to do. It's so easy to open up Facebook right now and start scrolling, right? And you see the new cases, the deaths, the hardship. It's very real, right? It's very real. And sometimes if we pay too much attention to that, especially stuff that are out of our control, it can affect us. I know sometimes it does me too. And so one of the things that I've been doing, especially in the last couple of weeks, is that I go on Facebook and then I see who's there. And usually people that are on Facebook there, or, some of them are busy conducting business. Others are just kind of like surfing. And I'll say, hey, do you want to join a meeting real quick? Not everybody does. Some people do. And sure, I could pick up the phone and call. But then I think about, well, gosh, if I jump on one of these meetings with one of my friends, it's going to liven me up, right? It's going to bring out the best in me. And when I bring out the best in myself, I also want to be able to share that with other people. And so one of the practices that I've been doing is I've been posting these Facebook Live videos on my Facebook page, and just having conversations that are real, finding ways of being able to help people, or at least understand where people are coming from. It's been extremely valuable, not just anybody watching, but for me too. It's like the other day, it was 5 a.m. when I woke up here. Right now I'm in Southern California. It's 5 a.m. I woke up myself. Okay, what type of day do I want to have today, right? And so what I did was I got on Facebook. I saw my friend. She owns a real estate company in Belize. Her name is Macarena Rose. It's kind of a fun name, and she's also she's also a fun person. And with that, we did a Zoom meeting, and then up posting live to YouTube because whatever reason we couldn't get it live to work on Facebook. Sometimes it doesn't always work the way you want to when it does, but that video was awesome, right? There was no script. There was nothing other than us just trying to connect and add value to each other, and then also for anybody to be able to watch. And sometimes I'll even go back and play that, and if I'm kind of feeling down or out, and just thinking, man, that was super powerful. And we think about the connection of that. How much does that cost to do that? If you've already invested in the equipment, you've already invested in the computer, how much does it cost to do that? It's free, right? It's totally free. So even though you might not necessarily be able to do an open house, or you might not be able to have an office meeting in the way that you did before. In fact, I think I've even heard feedback from some brokers that they're having more engagement now than they did when they were having in-person office meetings, because they've made it easier to be able to connect. So when you think about the mindset here, it might seem like things aren't working out, but man, what an opportunity. What an opportunity to learn something new. What an opportunity to challenge yourself. What an opportunity to get outside of your comfort zone, and make mistakes, right? The first time you do one of these meetings, it's not going to go well. I mean, I have stories upon stories upon stories of just this stuff bombing.
I mean, could you imagine being in an airport lounge and the internet connection doesn't work? One of your biggest opportunities you've had, right? Like stuff is going to go wrong, and I think you have to be okay with that, right? You have to you be willing to take some of the risks, but then also advise people that sometimes this is technology. It's going to help us more than it's going to hurt us. So you obviously have a choice on how to be able to interpret what's happening right now to you.
Okay, Doug, I got a few more questions here, kind of some repeats here. So it's like some from Amanda and some from Diane Hartley.
Yeah,
So I
please.
will.
Thanks for joining us, by the way. Hope you're getting some, and also too, like we've asked you questions about what you need help with. Maybe share in the comments, what are you doing right now that's really effective, right? Like you probably, some of you have been using Zoom for years now. It'd be nice to know what else, what other ways are you using it so other people can benefit from this too. Go ahead, Dan.
Okay, so here's the question from Diane Hartley, and Amanda also kind of asked this in a little message she sent me. Will Zoom send out a join notification an hour prior to meeting, or do you, as meeting host, need to send a reminder link?
Ooh, good question. So this is inside of your settings that you can configure your notification settings. And you can also have it set up in your calendar settings too. So one thing that I have set up inside of my calendar settings is, and it happens on my phone, it doesn't happen on my computer, but it happens on my phone, is that for any appointment that I schedule through Zoom, I get a 15-minute heads up notice, right? So then that way, if I'm running in the park, right, or I'm grocery shopping or whatever it might be, I can quickly switch. I know I have enough time to be able to switch gears, get myself in an environment where I can be camera ready and then be able to respond. There's situations too where I'm not in front of a computer, right? And I have to be able to do it from my phone. So those notification settings definitely come in when you have it reminding you on your telephone. A great question.
Okay, I got a question here from Mara Dorn. Is there a mobile booster for Wi-Fi, i.e. battery power? I think she's talking about those mesh routers that you were showing earlier.
Oh yeah, so let's a good question, right? This is mesh network. It's not. I don't think that they're battery operated. That you plug them into a wall, right? So it's a situation where it kind of looks like a little hockey puck size deal, and you plug it into the wall. Now, what? Let me see if I can pull this up so you can see this. I'm gonna go into screen share. One of the things I can share with you right here is I have a smart home guide that I can share with you on the participant chat, right? So I'm just going to share this right now because this is kind of like when companies bring me in to do big presentations on smart home, this is what I give everybody access to, right? So it's all the slides that talk about the mesh network. There's a checklist of all the different smart home stuff. So I know that like I'm giving you more answers to one question that you just asked, but it'll open up. I think I just sent that to Marcy privately. Let me change that to everybody. There we go. So Dan, you can share that. You can share that, and also see inside of there. So for the mesh network to work, you have the box that your company gives you, right? So if I don't know what your internet company is, whether it's like AT&T, Charter, Comcast, CenturyLink. No, they give you a box, right, that you plug your cable in from the wall into this box, and then you plug your router into the box. And so the router, the new one that you plug in, replace the old one, is the mesh network. And so that's where you plug in the hard line Ethernet cable. So it's kind of like the internet cable that plugs into the cable box. And then for your other rooms that it's in, all you do is you plug it into the wall. So you don't need to have the internet cable in each one of these things. You only need the internet cable into one. And so the mesh network will pick it up and it'll configure inside of your smart home app. So inside of this little guide here, you can actually see the visual of that, right? Visual
Okay.
of not just what the cable box, the internet, the mesh network looks like, but also the prompts inside the app.
Okay, Mara added a little clarification.
Yeah.
She's asking specifically one to use on location. We have spotty reception areas when we were out at other homes.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I don't know the answer to that one. Like and maybe I can clarify. It's just kind of tough to clarify and go back and forth. But like your phone connection has the internet, right? And so it can be really challenging in situations where you don't get the proper service. And so maybe it's just an investigation on which is going to be the best provider. As far as a booster for that, I'm not aware. I know that inside of your home you can get a booster for your service, but that's inside of your own home. That's not inside of other people's homes.
All right, and lastly, or at least the most recent one, Amanda wanted to ask you about adding virtual backgrounds, just to kind of cover that for some of the people here.
Yeah, cool. So a virtual background, we'll go back here to virtual background, right? So you're going to want to create your own, I would imagine. Now, what I've done with in this situation, this was just kind of off the cuff. But I have, like, over the years, I've bought the license to be able to use royalty-free photos. And so that's what I use. Well, if you don't have anything like that, you don't have a library to be able to choose from, what I'd recommend doing is go to canva.com. And so this way you can create a design. And you see, and look, it says suggested. And this is actually recent that they add in this template. It's for Zoom virtual background. So this will give you the exact dimensions to be able to create your own. So then on here, if I want to figure out, okay, what photo can I use in the background? I'm just gonna type in here desert, right? Or sorry, I gotta spell desert correctly. That would probably help. So here we go. Now see, it says Pro. If I choose Pro, that's gonna cost me money. I think it's like $1 for one of these images. So if I just move it over here, that's going to cost me $1 to use that image. So I'm on the free, cheap, and easy side, so I don't like to pay for stuff if I don't have to. So I'm going to choose this filter where I'm only going to select the free photos. So it's going to apply the filter to it, and guess what? This is one that I can use, or maybe this one, right? Is this one better? I don't know. So then you can think about, well, okay, if I need to upload, I'm going to add my buddy Chip, put him here. So I'm here with Chip, maybe not. Maybe I've got my special report that I want to put in here to add in. Here's me. It'd be kind of weird to be like me and me, but let's say it's a logo you want to put, you kind of resize it. So you just play with this, right? So once you have this down set, then you can choose this download button, download it. And then you go into, now you won't see this on my Zoom settings because I'm inside of Zoom right now, but I can now choose upload, add image. I can find the download that I just selected, open it, and there I am. Is that cool or what? If you think that's cool, say cool. That's free, right? If you want to be able to see me do this again, I have on my website, I have a ton of these resources here. The one you'll probably want to look for on here Scroll down the bottom is practical resources for transforming your work culture during tough times. I have a ton of these videos. And this one is on virtual background if you want to be able to watch this again on your own time, or you want to see how to start a Zoom meeting from your mobile phone, or you want to learn how to do yoga classes from home. There's just a ton of these things that I've put together to hopefully add some value, right? So you don't have to go searching for some of this on your own.
And I'll just add to what Doug's talking about with the virtual backgrounds. We created a whole bunch of them. I think something like between like 12 and 14 virtual backgrounds of our own. So if you are interested in getting them, just email me or Amanda. So like email dan@par.org or amanda@par.org, and we will get those to you. And then one little thing to add, we kind of find out that there are some device restrictions, at least in the sense that like there's like minimum requirements. So sometimes it won't work. Like these Surface Pros that are using to do this on have i3 processors, and to do a virtual background, at least without a green screen, you need like a minimum of an i5 processor. So just kind of be aware that if it's not working for you, there's a chance that probably your device doesn't quite meet those standards. But if you get a green screen, it should be able to work. And just go on like Amazon or Best Buy or whatever, I know they sell green screens. So that's just something to add on to what Doug was saying about that.
Yeah, no, that's so great. Now, I want you to think. Thank you for adding that. I want you to think about this. This is how much the technology has improved, right? Now, I don't have a green screen behind me. In fact, I'm at an Airbnb right now, and the lighting is terrible where I am. Now, it just so happens that it's okay, right? I wouldn't consider this like studio production quality, but I want you to think about like this is pretty good for just being in an Airbnb with nothing behind me except for couches. And so like years ago, the lighting would have to be perfect. The green screen would have to be perfect. Couldn't have a wrinkle inside the green screen. That's how good some of this technology is right now, that it'll just kind of focus on what's in front of you for the camera without, and kind of removing everything from the background. So pretty amazing as far as what's possible today.
So Karen Keith just asked a question on the virtual backgrounds. Is virtual background not available on the free version mobile app? So I'm guessing like on the phone or whatnot. I know I have it on the desktop version here on the Surface Pro. And like the only reason why I can't do it on here is because of the i3 processor thing. But
Yeah.
Mobile app is what she's asking about.
So I don't know the answer to that. That's a good question. I think the only way you'll be able to find the answer quickly is going to the pricing page to see the comparison. But think about this from and I'm like, I don't sell Zoom, right? Like I don't make money. In fact, I think, well, I'm not going to go into details, but I don't make any. I promote it, I use it, but I don't get any royalty from it. One of the disadvantages of having the pro version is if you're hosting a meeting like this, you only get 40 minutes, right? Could you imagine being, and I've had this happen before too, right? Where we're having a great conversation, and at the 40-minute mark, it cuts off. And then you're thinking, oh gosh, what just happened, right? Was it a technology deal? What happened? And so you'd have to send a new meeting link in order to continue that conversation. So that's probably one of the biggest reasons of just upgrading, is because you don't have to worry about going over 40 minutes.
I just checked. I've got the mobile version here on my work phone here, and I do not see an option for virtual background on here. Unless they've got it buried somewhere where you won't easily find it.
Oh, well, let's see. Do y'all want to see some advanced techniques here?
Yeah, sure. Show us.
All right. It's kind of, here's the thing too, is like whenever you do some of this stuff on the fly, sometimes not saying sometimes, but sometimes you can set yourself up for a big no-no. So I'm going to appreciate you guys if you give me a little bit of patience here. So here's my phone, right? I don't recommend you trying this at home. Can y'all see my phone? Now, if you ever do phone presentations, in fact, Zoom has it to where you can share your screen in. I just use an app called Reflector app. And so then it comes in here. And so if I wanted to go in, I don't know if I can do, yeah, can I do, this is kind of risky. I'm gonna start a meeting while I'm on your meeting. So I'll do this one more time. At the very bottom, see where it says more? Click on more, and then I type in, and then if it doesn't show that on your phone for virtual background, then oh, I got to activate the video. That's why it's not showing up. There. See that? I mean, isn't that pretty good? So hopefully that shows you as far as what's possible with this thing.
Molly Horine had a comment that apparently Zoom is waiving the 40-minute limit.
Oh, neat. Yeah, it's good to know. Thanks for sharing that.
Does anybody have any more questions?
Well, gang, you have an opportunity to ask questions in the comments. I have a ton of resources on this stuff, so you don't have to feel like you have to go scramble and search for it. Inside of the comments, you can leave ideas as far as what you're using Zoom for. If you go to my Facebook page, there's like a ton of this stuff that's already there. You can watch some interviews of brokers. You can, if you're on the association management side, there's a ton of those. Political advocacy, there's a couple of those. Ton of resources on this stuff, so you don't have to go searching for it. So with that, I'll kind of leave you with just one more thing to think about. If you're just getting started with this, again, it's okay, right? And one of the things maybe to remind you of or ask you to think about is, how do you move a mountain? One rock at a time. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. How do you master a Zoom meeting or screen-to-screen meeting? One click at a time. Try it. Practice on your family first. Your family is a whole lot more forgiving than your customers or clients will ever be. When my son was born in 2015, I sent out a Zoom meeting so everybody could join. You think that's weird? I mean, not like the live delivery of the child where the child was coming out, not that. In the recovery room, right after the baby was out. I'm looking at Marcy's face and just wondering, gosh, she's wondering where I'm going with this thing. I mean, isn't there nothing better, more precious than a newborn in her mother's arms? And so what I did is I sent out a link from the recovery room where, you know, we're just all celebrating. There's only a couple of us. We couldn't fit our entire family in there. We have family all over the world. But they were able to join us, right? They were able to celebrate. I sent them a text message with a link so they could just join and see it right from their phone. It was so precious. And so we have the ability to connect in a way that we never have before. There's urgency to do it, right? So I challenge you. What will you do differently? Not just connect with your clients, but connect with your loved ones. I really appreciate you inviting me. Dan, Marcy, Amanda. Hopefully you've gotten some valuable tips out of this. Again, this is Doug Devitre, author of Screen to Screen Selling. I'm signing off.